Hey guys, Grifton here, and today we're going to talk about Feral Cat in Prepatch and what changes you should expect. Now before we get started, please take the time to like and subscribe as it really helps me putting out more videos. Okay, so you're a Feral Cat in TBC and the Prepatch drops. What changes should you expect? Well, there are a lot, but I want to break this down in pieces to not overwhelm you, so first let's start with spell changes. The two big game changer spells are Cat Swipe and Savage Roar. Cat Swipe is going to give you the swipe you've had in Bear, but as a cat, and it's going to make you able to do AoE. Savage Roar is a combo point buff that will increase your damage by 30%. Now both of those are huge and absolutely will change your gameplay. However, neither of those will arrive in Prepatch. Nope. Blizzard in its infinite wisdom is going to make you wait until 71 to get Swipe and Cat and 75 to get Savage Roar. Now something you will experience right away is power shifting will go away. No more Wolf's Head, instead energy won't be coming in as a tick, instead it will refill constantly, so if you're one energy point short of an ability, you don't have to wait the full tick cycle to use it. Some minor changes that you may find useful are you will be able to use Nature's Grasp in cat form, which is now a druid base ability and comes with 3 charges, making escapes much easier in solo content. You can also use Bark Skin in cat form in case you pull aggro or snag too many mobs. Honestly, Prepatch is going to be a little anticlimactic for cats, but there are some cool changes in the talent tree, so let's talk about that. First, I want to point out that cat and bear spec are no longer identical, so if you're going full cat for a spec, you may want to use your second talent tree to go bear if you want to do both, though the cat spec should be able to handle 5-man content just fine. Okay, so at 70, your talent tree should look something like this. I'm going to work my way down the tree to big changes so you have an idea of how your class will perform. First up, we have Feral Instinct. Now at 70, this is borderline useless for cats, though I do want to point out as once you can swipe, you may want to snag this for those AoE pulls. Next, I'm going to jump down to Feral Charge. Now this isn't a new talent, but it has changed, and now it gives cats their own Feral Charge, which is essentially a rogue shadow step, putting you right behind a target and dazing them. Very handy on a boss pull to quickly get into position. Next, I do want to talk about Survival Instinct. If you watch my bear Prepatch video, you'll know that bears now no longer need defense gear to be crit immune. Well, luckily this talent also gives 6% attributes, meaning you'll want to pick this up too, and because of that, you'll also be crit immune. This is great for the cat that has to go bear form from time to time. You may not be as chunky as a true bear spec, but you can take a couple blows, and even soloing allow you to take on higher level mobs. Now there is a new talent that you probably won't take, but I do want to discuss, and that's Infected Wounds. It's going to put a debuff on the target that slows their attack speed by 20%, and the reason you usually skip this is because Ret Paladins, Frost DKs, and Prot Warriors can also bring the same buff. If you're asked to take it by your raid leader, that's a different story, but you'll likely skip this. Now, a big one and a must-have for all ferals is King of the Jungle. This is going to make your Tiger's Fury useful, finally. Essentially, this replaces your power shift. It's going to give you 60 energy with a 30-second cooldown for Tiger's Fury. It also reduces your forms by 60%, which is a nice bonus. Another talent I want to talk about, despite skipping it, is Improved Mangle. So you still want Mangle to boost your bleed effects, but the improved is more for bears. Because Mangle debuff now lasts a minute, you won't be casting this very often in your rotation, likely just early on to get the buff up, so reducing that cost using 3 talent points just isn't justifiable, especially at 70 when you're already having to sacrifice other talents. Rend and Tear is a new talent that's going to increase your damage from Shred and Ferocious Bite on targets with bleeds up, so yeah, keep your bleeds up. Attached to it is an amazing talent called Primal Gore. This is going to let your Rip Ticks now crit. Now you may want to skip this, and I will get to that in a minute, but it's a very great talent you'll definitely want at 80. Last in the feral tree is the Berserk talent. For a cat, this will cut all of your abilities in cat form by 50% for 15 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown. Now, this doesn't stack with Tiger's Fury, but you can use Tiger's Fury right before to get the energy first. This talent at 70 might also be skipped, and we'll get to that in a minute. In the Restoration tree, you do want to start dipping to grab Omen of Clarity. Improved Mark is a good pickup as it does give you a 2% attribute, plus you can help buff. Furor, which in TBC was the talent that made power shifting possible, has been reworked. Instead of giving us energy when we go in cat form, it retains a certain amount of energy when we shift out, depending on how many points we invest. This means that if we're at 0 energy and power shift, we will come back with 0 energy still. However, if you have all 5 talents and you have full energy, when you shift out of form and back in, you will retain all 100 energy, making power shifting useless. but also because you won't be power shifting at all, because you can drink pots and such in form. The talent itself has less value as well. So if you're trying to shave corners, you can just put the bare minimum of 3 points in it as you work towards Omen. And finally, let's talk Omen of Clarity. Now on private servers, this thing procs constantly. It likely won't be as amazing as it was in private servers, however, because you can't power shift, you will find times where you're waiting on energy, and getting Omen procs should help that. Now that we've talked about all the relevant points, I do want to talk about the main issue. In order to get Omen and Berserk, you need to be level 71, so you have to choose. But also there's a caveat that makes the choice even trickier. Because Primal Gore requires 5 points in Rend and Tear before you can get it, it too requires you to commit to Berserk. So if you go Berserk, you get Primal Gore, but if you go Omen, you have to give up both, and then can't get all 3 until 72. Now I think the play for Prepatch is to go with Berserk and Primal Gore. The two of them on a boss fight should have more value than Omen, though without a sim I cannot be 100% certain, so choose what you like best. But that is the talent tree. Let's talk glyphs. If you don't know about glyphs, they're modifications you can add to spells for extra customization. The problem is all glyphs won't be available in Prepatch, plus one of your major glyphs is unlocked at 80, so my suggestion is to take any that you can get that benefit your class, and I also made a feral cat glyph video that explains the benefits of each. I'll link that at the end to get you familiar with the ones you want. Now that you're aware of all the changes, let's talk rotation, and I'm going to tell you the rotation for cats gets a little complicated because of the debuff juggle you're experiencing. So I'll be making a separate video on the level 80 rotation, but for now, let's discuss level 70. So first, we will do single target. Now, this will highly depend on if you were able to get Glyph of Shred or Glyph of Rip, or both, as they extend Rip quite a bit. Instead of a perfect rotation, I'm going to explain what you're trying to achieve. So first you want to get Fairy Fire, and if it helps you get to position, you'll Feral Charge. Then you want to Mangle and Rake to get your debuffs up. You will fill with Shreds until you have 5 combos, and Rip, Tiger's Fury, Berserk, which should leave you with a lot of energy and 50% discount on damage. At this point, you should have Fairy Fire, Mangle, Rake, and Rip up as debuffs. Your job will be to maintain those while using Shred and Ferocious Bite when no debuffs need to be reapplied. I recommend a weak aura to keep an eye on your debuffs. If you think that's a headache, wait until you get Omen and Savage Roar. Trying to proc Omen with Fairy Fire during energy droughts and maintaining Savage Roar uptime, it's a zoo. Okay, let's talk level 70 multi-target DPS. This is much easier. You want to open with Fairy Fire. I know this seems wasteful on multi-targets, but once you get Omen, while you're running in, getting an early proc can be very helpful. Because you don't have Omen yet, and you don't have Savage Fury to stack first, your rotation is pretty simple. Swipe, swipe, Tiger's Fury, Berserk, swipe, 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 Fairy Fire, swipe, and just use Tiger's Fury off cooldown. You will get energy starved here. Even if you have Omen, it'll likely still be a concern. You won't be generating any combo points here, so swap targets as often as you like if you're concerned about threat. So now you know the spell changes, talent changes, glyphs, and rotations for Feral Cat. I hope this prepares you for Wrath Prepatch and you don't get caught off guard. If I missed anything or there's something you'd like me to go more in depth about, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching guys, and as always, take care.